Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Your Brain Shift podcast, bi-weekly podcast that promote mindset shifts and brain shifts for greater success, health and wellness, and fulfillment. Mindset is not enough for success. You need to train your brain for new successes, health and wellness, and fulfillment habits. These shifts are the only way to obtain long-lasting success. I'm Keith Engelhardt, the Chief Success Officer at Sawat Solutions, and I help individuals and organizations accelerate and exponentially increase their success. It's my passion and why I get up each day. Joining me is my good friend and fellow co-host, Kevin McKinnon. Kevin, why don't you introduce yourself briefly and what your passion and purpose is?
Hi, my name is Kevin McKinnon, and my passion and purpose is one, being able to fulfill one's life goals and do it in peace without less stress. We live in a world today where everything is quick, timed. Everybody's head is either on a phone, a screen. They get wrapped up from the time they get up in the morning till the time they go to bed. They don't know how to de-stress. When you're in a meeting, for instance, it's easy to de-stress if you just sit down and give them I'm paying totally attention, and then just leave them alone for a while and let them talk, and they think, wow, this guy's paying attention. But really, that you take a few seconds to clear your mind, get back on what you're trying to achieve, and off you go. Perfect and simple. That's my goal.
Yeah, excellent. In other words, being mindful and present.
Yes.
So we mentioned passion and purpose. That's today's topic for our inaugural session of your Brain Shift podcast. And the words passion and purpose are often used interchangeably. Many people use them to talk about something that ignites them, a fire within themselves, something that they love to do, and or love more than anything else in life. However, passion and purpose are not the same. They're entirely different. Passion is something internal. It resides at our inner core. It's buried beneath all the other expectations that people may have of us, or of assumptions that they may have about you. Purpose, however, is directed at what's around you. It's something that you can share or contribute to the world. For example, I might have a passion to cook, but my purpose perhaps is to teach cooking to others. So if you want to achieve limitless motivation and energy, as well as success, it's essential to identify your passion and then use it to find your purpose. They're both building blocks for success. Motivating yourself to change your behavior or your success begins with defining passion and purpose. Then go out and make a ruckus with both. So we're just going to have a casual conversation about passion and purpose. I can say for myself, it took a while to identify both. Neither one was really fostered in my family of origin. It just seems like, in reflection on those years, that the adults in the family were just too busy with a focus on, it's kind of simplistic, but a focus on survival, getting food on the table, clocking out the 8 to 5 job and everything around maintaining a household, etc. So there wasn't really, other than just observing behavior, much dialogue around identifying a passion and purpose. How about you, Kevin? What was your experience in that regard?
My experiences, I would say, would be the same, but maybe with a more, shall we say, calmness to it. All my life, I've been a guy that says, okay, in any situation, we have to find calmness in that. Passionate. Wow. We can be passionate about anything. We can be passionate about our loved ones. We can be passionate about our business. We can be passionate about our hobbies. These are things that we devote a lot of our mind to. As far as purpose goes, I have a little bit more definition of the word purpose. The word purpose to me means reasoning with oneself, period. Before you can have all the passion that you want and purpose, quick and pace, but if you don't have the self-awareness, then you either lag behind or you fail. That starts in the morning. One should do, when one requires certain knowledges, one should also remember that in that, one must find balance. Your whole day has to have balance, because anytime you don't have balance, that means there's stress involved. Stress will be what we could say would be a suppression to passion and purpose, because now it's holding you back from what you need to do. Okay. Another thing that I would find in that is that most people don't understand, say, if we throw time management in that. You only have 24 hours in a day, and if you're going to do that in a day's world, you got to remember, we live in a quicken pace. Oh, the rules are same as far as raising families, sending the kids off to school, sending the kids off to college. The rules are the same, but today we are at a quickened pace. So 24 hours, time management comes in, big play to that. And that's where people fail, because they don't really manage the time that it takes involved to be, say, we'll take a family. We got mom, dad, 2 kids, okay? Okay, dad's a businessman, mom's a career girl. Okay, they're moms, dads, you know, there are a lot of things that they have to be in a day, and also be able to perform their jobs, their passion. They might be involved in, say, charitable organization. Now, there's something very passionate that someone would want to get involved with. Again, time management, reasoning with oneself, and that says, what can I actually do, and be reasonably calm about it in a 24-hour period. That's my view of that.
Awesome. I love the focus on the time management, because the time compressions that we're experiencing nowadays does induce a lot of stress. And we all have the same 24 hours in a day. I think that's 1,000 something or other minutes, or 10,000 something minutes. So what differs between individual to individual is how we utilize that time, how we spend it. And ironically, time is one of the most precious commodities we have, yet few people really look at it in enough detail to determine whether they're prioritizing the right things, and how to spend their time. That self-reflection that you talked about is real important, not only for identifying passion and purpose, but also defining your core values. You kind of suggested that when you were sharing, and those differ from individual to individual, and a great deal of research has gone into that area, and unfortunately many people have never identified those core values. They've never been taught to. They've picked up core values from families of origin, from the culture or society that they lived in, and really haven't done deep reflection on identifying those values. Because if we do, we may find that we're spending a great deal of our time on stuff that's really not of value to us. It's just, but was sold to us by culture, or even these days by advertising forces and business interests. So it does take a little bit of energy and courage to go down that path of exploring. As you mentioned, I can be passionate about a number of things, but they're kind of peripheral to maybe my purpose. What is it that I want to do in life that provides fulfillment and true pleasure and enjoyment of life? There's unfortunately too many people that just are working jobs that they really don't care to be doing. It's just a paycheck, a way to pay the bills, and so forth. What comes to mind for me is Jonathan Field's got a wonderful question that he tosses out to get people thinking about both passion and purpose. And that question is, when you get up in the morning and your feet hit the floor, what is it that you cannot not do? In other words, it has to be part of your everyday existence. If you can identify that and marry it with earning a living at it, not only will you find purpose and passion in your life, but a lot of fulfillment and joy. Work no longer becomes work. You just wouldn't rather be doing anything else. You just happen to be making a living on it.
Okay. Here's, before we go any further, here's what I think one should remember about where we were at in different zones. Because, like you said, today people are working jobs that they really don't want to do, but yet they're striving to either have a better job, climb the ladder, or whatever. Okay, but now, if a few years ago, before people had to be making quick decisions, the age of all of this technology, I can remember working at jobs that I didn't particularly like, but I was making money, and my goal was do this job now. So I knew I had to do this job now. So any situation that I went in, I tried to make the best of it and have fun at it, because, okay, I might have doing a job shoveling coal and filling bags, but it wasn't the fact that I was shoveling coal and filling bags, because most of the time I didn't realize that that was just part of what I was doing, but I was interacting with the people. my goal and purpose and passion was at that time to be what I ended up being is an engineering tech. So, you know, how do you go from shoveling coal to engineering tech? You have to, you know, the jobs that you do, you're going to have to find peace in that. And the only way you're going to find peace in that is interaction with your people. Another thing that I like about what Keith had to say, and I'm going to interject two things. And this is something that I think that people have forgotten to do, along with everything we talk about passion and purpose and everything that we do in that 24-hour period. Guess what, guys? You guys have forgot about application. You know, you guys are running around with the passion and purpose, but you're not asking your question. And the question is, what if? Okay. Now, what if I do this? Doesn't matter what you're doing. We'll say applying it to, since we're talking about passion and purpose, we'll apply it to say, my goal is to grow my business to $150,000 more worth than it is today. Okay, now you're already in the business. You already have the passion and the purpose to do it. But, oh, guess what? Goes back to time management. Now, how are you going to, what is the application? How are you going to apply yourself to add more time, more energy, and along with that, you have to balance in the fact that you want to be $150,000 stronger next year. Okay, application time, guys. Okay, you're adding more stress to yourself because now you got to work harder because you're trying to grow. Okay, now from the time you get up in the morning that you decided that you want to grow, and like Keith said, your feet hit the floor. One thing that amazes me about people, okay, if you're going to add that much more stress, that much more passion, that much more purpose into growing next year, then guess what? You've just added, you have to make a sacrifice somewhere. Now, here is what I say to the sacrifice. The sacrifice is that if you go to bed, and I'm going to say most people, and we are talking about people with families, if you don't have a family and you're a single person, guess what? This applies to you, but it's easier because you don't have the other stresses and the other outside factors involved in that. Okay, but we're talking about the family because that we're talking about balance in this. Okay, guys. Now, if we look at how are we going to do this? Okay, guess what? If you go to bed at 10 o'clock and you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, guess what you're going to have to do, guys? We're going, for application purposes and balance, you're going to have to get up an hour earlier, where in that hour, there's nothing going on. The kids aren't coming at you. The hubby ain't coming at you. You're sitting at the kitchen table having coffee or whatever it is, walking around the house. You know, in my case, I have fish tanks and plants, so I get up in the morning and find that balance before I do anything. Stress, you're going through your day. Again, here we go. You know what your passions and purposes are, but guess what? You're not running around like a chicken in a barnyard, running around just pick. You're actually sitting there calm. You're having a cup of coffee. You've got no outside factors in that hour. You got an hour before the outside factors come, so that when the outside factors start, your day is sure. You know the direction you want to go. There's your passion, there's your purpose, and there's your understanding about what you're going to have to do in that 24-hour period. Yeah,
you actually expose how complex both passion and purpose can be, and you're absolutely right. There's times where there may be jobs that I explore or things that I have to do Um, and when I was a student, I didn't particularly enjoy having to go through the drudgery of meeting deadlines for term papers and so forth. But those were necessary steps to get to me to where I wanted to be. But my mindset never shifted from what the outcome and purpose was, what I was wanting to achieve. And we can have more than one passion and purpose. Anybody that has a family, certainly, or at least hopefully for the kids' sake, is that there's some passion about raising children. It's one of the biggest responsibilities that we'll ever have, if not the greatest responsibility that we'll ever have. And the purpose of, providing safety and shelter and food and all the dynamics related to that, as well as educating them, inspiring them, and so forth. And that may have to tie in with balancing maybe my career passions and purposes. It's can be complex and dynamic and changing, because as we evolve and mature, what we value can differ as well. I think the point of our dialogue is how important it is to do some self-reflection and exploration and identify fundamental core values that are truly yours, not ones that you've prostituted yourself to, because it's what society expects, or etc., or it was what my parents thought I should be doing, or whatever. When I was sharing about people kind of unconsciously doing things that they really at a core level don't like to do because of outside expectations or assumptions, that if you really want to have a fulfilled and purposeful life, how important it is to and how courageous it is at times to take the steps to identify your core passions and purpose and values and being true to them. That stress that you mentioned literally can vaporize, because stress is usually caused by us resisting something that's in front of us that we really don't like to do. Well, if we've identified something that we're passionate about and purposeful about, that, even if I didn't get paid for it, I'd be doing it. Then you have a different grace and ease and balance that you mentioned, and peace of mind that you have as you move through life.
And most people, they forget that in today's world, whatever your goal is going to be, from the time you get up to the time you go to bed, you got to remember two things. Along that path, there's going to be obstacles that's going to stop you from acquiring, whether you have passion or purpose. That obstacle, just say in that 24-hour-a-day period, is going to stop you from achieving whatever it is that goal is. Now, people's going to have to learn to do is the one thing that they don't seem to understand, guys. It's time to learn how to adapt. Okay, on your goal, from the time we get up again to the time we go to bed, our goal is to get there. All right, there's going to be obstacles, whether it's obstacles at work, whether it's obstacles at home. You guys are going to have to learn to keep moving forward and adapt to the obstacle, get it out the way, and keep moving forward. Okay, unless that obstacle is, say, putting you in the hospital or stopping that then no. You're going to have to learn how to adapt in that goal. If they're demanding more from you at work, then okay, you're going to have to adapt. Okay, you're going to have to, something's going to get sacrificed, but a sacrifice doesn't necessarily mean a taking away, because really when it comes down to it, when you're finding balance and you're using time management, is time. So there again, and if work wants more out of you, then always remember that in a period of time, then you're going to lose time somewhere else. So if you are going to lose time, don't make it a loss. You know, take that time that, okay, I got to put more time and effort on the job, but just remember, okay, guys, that on that job, as far as time management goes, there's no time management, because if you're on an 8-hour day, you're still on an 8-hour day. They're demanding more out of you, but you're still on an 8-hour day. So there, you don't really lose time, but what you do lose is you gain a little mental stress, because now they're demanding more. And if they're demanding more of your time and your mind power, then that's taking away from something else. And if it's taken away from a goal or a passion that you have, then yes, sir, you're going to have stress. That's going to be an obstacle. So either we adapt, or you have to weigh out what is more important in your life. Is can I get another job real quick, making the same money or more without the stress? Or am I going to have to stay here, especially in today's time, and adapt to this job still within the 8-hour period? So now, if you're going to need, if you're going to need to devote all that time and all that mind power into that, then just remember that whatever your goal is, it doesn't stop the goal, but yes, it slows down the goal, because now you are losing time. So there again, always remember to find, when you're applying yourself, just remember a little common elegance and grace in what you do. Say, for instance, if you're at work and they're demanding more, when you go home, remember your kids are going to demand a little bit different time. So at that point, you have to learn to turn off the job. Doesn't matter what you went through on that job today, that 8 hours, we're done with it. It's done. Now, this is the time that we de-stress, we get with the family, we calm down, and after the kids are gone to bed, you feel like you need a little time, then hey guys, keep your time in your house happy. Then put the wife to bed, you go downstairs for a minute, finish de-stressing before you go to bed, because it's very relaxing. It gives you some time, and before you go to bed, you're not taking that stress, undue stress, before you get into bed.
And there's all kinds of nuances that come up for me while you're sharing of how complex, figuring out all that balance is. Sometimes it may be even setting boundaries with an employer that, no, it's really important to me that I go to my kids' recital or dance performance or whatever, that I can't work those extra hours that you're demanding. And
Yeah.
often takes courage, and you'll occasionally meet authoritarian type management that says, no, you got to work or whatever. And it can be a challenge navigating those waters. It may even mean time, insight that, okay, this is maybe not the best employment opportunity or match for where my purpose in life is. If a part of that purpose is raising a healthy, balanced family, then it may mean taking the risks to leave a job and find another one, or at least put the footwork in to explore another opportunity. And because in the long run, it's only going to be um, less stress and more fulfillment, enjoyment from life. I think people are kind of awakening to that. One of the things that I've seen as a result of this COVID shutdown, and people had the opportunity to spend more time at home with the kids, and then try and juggle the logistics of that. Teach them because they're home from school and all the other layers that bubbled up with this. But the realization was, hey, I really don't miss all those extra hours that I was putting in at work, that I kind of like having regular time with my family or whatever. It doesn't need to take a pandemic, though, to have that nudge to explore how we're spending our time. Is it committed toward the passions and purposes that we have, the values that we have? What I've done throughout my 40 plus years of working with people, not only with stress management and balance and success principles. It's the nudging of people to consider that and how important it is to their fulfillment in life. I've worked with too many people that just had empty existences of that's all that existed. It was all the hours they spent at work. They weren't happy. They might have had success if the measure was more income, and even those long hours didn't guarantee that you had a lucrative job, and ended up with either health issues or just being plain miserable. And one of the things I also observed is even though in the United States there's this sort of mindset or archetype of success, and that's one of the primary goals, is to be successful. We admire and praise people that have achieved either fame or wealth, which is one measure of success. But we're not looking for how to achieve that. What are the steps? What are the principles to do that? I recently did some research with Google Trends, and was a little shocked to find that just a sliver, a small percentage of the population was using all the technology and the ability to find information instantaneously on our fingertips via our phones and whatever gadgets. But nobody was searching for simple things like career success or life success or achievement for that matter. So one of the motivations for establishing this podcast was to at least share some of the learnings that I've had over the years, and some of them took a lifetime to figure out, was what makes us successful, what makes us fulfilled in life, what guarantees peace and grace in our lives. So I'm hoping people stay tuned for future broadcasts to explore that vast universe of even science that backs basic success principles up. For example, we know a great deal about how our brains interfere with our success. Stress is one of them. When our survival areas of the brain, I mentioned the amygdala earlier, when they're hijacked with stress, it's not possible to be successful at even learning or memorizing, because the memory centers of the brain shut down, and the thinking logical areas of the brain shut down, because the body and the brain are trying to survive whatever is that extreme challenge that's induced the stress. So it's just not biologically possible to be successful. And unfortunately, stress is literally epidemic on our planet. It certainly has come to our awareness from the stresses of this, COVID challenge. But as you mentioned, no matter what the speed bump is, it's not success or fulfillment. Reaching your purpose or your passion is never a straight line. It's never linear. There are going to be obstacles along the way. And as you mentioned, mindset is so crucial for navigating that. Just the mere shift of seeing those speed bumps as learning opportunities along the way, instead of being in the way of what it is I'm trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Well, very good. I think that at this point, we have found various ways to get to that particular end goal that we have passion and purpose for. But we also have learned that, yes, navigation, there's no straight line. The navigation is going to be more like a snake. And as you go around these obstacles, you're going to have balance and grace, or you're not going to achieve your goal, because you're going to get caught up in the obstacle and never achieve the goal. You might get that. And then that's going to be a mindset of your own personal drive. Now, in the future, I think we will discuss one's drive, because, if you think about it, you can be passionate, say, let's take it, let's go out there, okay? I'm passionate about all the tigers in the world, okay? That's what you're passionate about. And my purpose in life is to make sure that I fight for the tigers and everything else. Now we have achieved that purpose. Now, while you're doing that, you still have to work, you still have to live, you still have to buy groceries, pay bills, and everything else. So now, remember, guys, that, although we have our passion and purposes, we have to live too. There again, it might, if you're a person that's trying to be in the right now, have it right now, there's an obstacle, because nothing is giving right now. You're going to have to devote some time. You're going to have to devote some purpose. And behind all that time and purpose, you're going to have to find drive to do it. Oh, you just got off work. You're trying to set up this business. Now you just did an 8-hour shift because you're trying to set up the business to get away from this 8-hour shift. Okay, now where's your drive to keep going? Do you have the drive to get over being a little tired? Or do you have a drive that you're going to have to stop, be dad, you're going to have to take care of the kids, you're going to have to take care of the wife, you're going to have to stop for a minute, and there again, look what happens after you become dad, and then after you become husband, mom's in the bed. There we talk about that time before you get into bed. Guess what? That now you need that time before you get into bed, not only to calm down and relax, but guess what? You've just taken that time, that obstacle that you didn't say have the drive to keep going. Now here's your drive to keep going, because that drive comes that before you go to bed, You have to you have to solve the problem. You have to have the awareness, and you have to have the calmness. There's your drive, because drive is only an impediment. It's stopping you from achieving a goal. So if you're tired, there is the number one thing. And stress, oh yes, there's the number one thing, because as we all know, that if we allow too many stresses in our life, it affects our health, our relationships. But guess what, guys? It just shuts down your overall mental performance, because you're devoting too much energy, not to your thinking, not to your mind, and then therefore it's like we get back to a sacrifice, but this is one that is more of an unconscious sacrifice, because you find yourself now needing more time in the 24-hour period. So one needs to learn to adapt to life's changes, and unfortunately you have to learn quickly, because we're in a quick-paced world. Think about the boomers compared to the Gen X, and then what we have there is what I like to call one big soup bowl of stress, because baby boomers were kind of laid back. The Gen X's are rocket fuel type people, and now guess what? Just those two periods of time now have to coexist. And so that means that the older and wiser still has to compete with the younger and quicker. So there's where we adapt. There's where we find ourselves trying to run from stress that's going to be there. So instead of dealing with it more as a stress, deal with it and let it go. And my biggest thing is, say, back to the guy that's trying to make the $150,000 a year. Hey, there's my big point about the whole thing. How are you going to get there, and what shape are you going to be when you get there? Because there's going to be obstacles along the way, and either you adapt or you're going to fail at the obstacle.
Yeah, the key thing there is the stress and how important it is to recognize that. You mentioned awareness. So that's key to any change or evolution, is we have to first be aware. And this stress is probably a topic for a whole nother series of shows, actually.
Yes, sir.
It's something I've devoted decades to helping
Yes.
people with and understanding it. To give you some insight for our audience, is it not only just wears you down mentally, and certainly we experience the physical fatigue of stress, but we now know scientifically that stress not only impacts our biology at the cellular level, it literally rewires your genes.
Yes.
And, sets up the next generation for all kinds of health issues. There was a study done with mice that if you associate stress with an environmental condition, they would, if the mice smelt wintergreen, they give them a little painful electrical shock. If they were eating food or trying to eat food when they smelt wintergreen, well, it didn't take long for the mice to figure out, don't eat the food if you smell wintergreen. Without even the electrical shock, if they smelt that, they would avoid eating food. Where it genetically modifies us is without ever doing anything further, 6 generations out, even though those offspring never were exposed to that stressful condition, their brains were wired to totally avoid food if they smelled wintergreen, rather. And that's how impactful stress is. And many of us are really a lot of our behaviors and choices are based on stresses that our ancestors had, and we may not even know about it. But there are some simple ways that we'll cover in future programs of very simple, effective ways that don't take much energy or commitment to flatline your stress, balance your life, and allow you to navigate those ups and downs and be adaptive and resilient to those ebb and flows that are going to occur, because we don't have a control whether a natural disaster comes along. The people in California had no way to anticipate or predict, wildfires, but that's a very traumatic and stressful situation that they've got to navigate in their lives. So
okay, I'd like to add something to that with what you just said, Keith, but I'm only going to keep it really simple, because along with that and that thinking, my thinking right now with the wildfires, the people having to adapt to stress, and all the things that we have discussed in this program and we will discuss in the future, just think about one thing. Along with everything that we talked about, with the wildfires and everything else, just think now, with the wildfires, the displaced people that are culturally used to living one way, say that way, or in a more rural situation, that now might have to go into the city, and now we're in a more quicker pace, and it's just a whole life change. Now, in the future, I think we will deal with that stress, with that particular type of stress, because everybody is. I'm gonna take it back the last 2,000 years. Everybody has really become sedimentary. There's no movement. They set up. People say, "Well, I've been on this farm 150 years." Okay, just remember, guys, you've been on that farm for 150 years. Now, outside of the world, if you're thinking it's still 150 years old, now everybody else, now we're rolling cell phones, we're rolling all the latest technology. Our cars now are intertuned with us. We tune our cars, so that means our vehicles now interact with us. Now, if you've been on the farm for 150 years and now the farm is gone and you've got to come into the city, adapt, just imagine the stress from just the cultural change. We will discuss that one in the future.
Yeah, cultural and environmental changes are major stresses, but you're right, that's a topic for a whole nother episode or two.
Yes, yes.
So I'd like to wrap up today's session with a little nudge for our audience, and that is to take some quiet time, maybe on a quiet walk out in nature, or as Kevin mentioned, an early start to the morning before the bustle of the day starts. Some quiet time to think about and reflect on, are you really following your passion or passions in life, or your purpose? And that could be plural as well. Because if you're not, it's a huge impediment for your not only successes in life, but from fulfillment and enjoyment of life. So I encourage you to identify both, and then go make a ruckus. So thank you for joining us, and I look forward to you coming back for future episodes. If you're interested in success, I do have a Foundations of Achievement and Success program that's self-study online. It's 33 modules over 33 days, because it takes at least a month or so to really change a habit. So the content's designed to be explored a little bit each day at your own pace, and it's very economical. You can find out more about it at getsuccess.today. So I look forward to you joining us next week and in future weeks, and wish you the best success, as well as doing things passionate and with purpose.
And me, I'm Kevin McKinnon. Be safe and blessed.
See you next time.